In this question on bearing and distance, we are told that a cottage is on a bearing of 200 degree and 110 degree from Dogbe's and Manu's farms respectively. Now, if Dogbe walk 5 kilometers and Manu 3 kilometers from the cottage to their farms, we are to find correct to two significant figures, the distance between the two farms, and to the nearest degree, the bearing of Manu's farm from Dogbe's farm. So let's look at this critically. Now, we are told that the cottage is on a bearing of 200 and 110 from Dogbe's and Manu's farm. So we need to take the bearing of 200 from Dogbe and 110 from Manu. So in the first case, we want to locate 200 degree. We can say we want to draw our cardinal point just like this, okay? And then we have our north, our south, our east, and the west. And we will notice that 200 will be in the third quadrant because north to south is a straight line. That's 180 degrees. So 200 will be just a bit off of that. So we can look at a scenario coming like this. So I can say what I'm having from the north to this inclination is 200 degrees, okay? And then in addition to that, we're also told that from Manu's farm, it is 110 degrees. If we look at 110 is going to be in the second quadrant. Let's just use this as a reference. North to east is 90 degrees. So 110 will just be 20 more than 90. That means it will be something coming in this direction, okay? But we are not taking it from Dogbe's farm. We have to take it from Manu's farm. That means that Manu's farm should be located somewhere here, okay? Somewhere here, so that this inclination that can just come to meet this one as shown in the diagram. So that's what we are going to do to locate Manu's farm. You can just say I want to take that cardinal point, just say from here. All right, again, I want to have my north, south, east, and west. Let me just leave that because I'll be including that in the diagram. Then I want to join this point to say this should come just like this, which I can draw the bearing to say from the north to that inclination is 110 degrees. Then I can say I want to just finish up with the diagram by just drawing this line to join and finish here, and then I can label, okay? Now we are taking the bearing from Dogbe's farm is 200, so this is where we are taking the 200 from. That is Dogbe's farm, D for Dogbe. Then M for Manu, this we have to be M, okay? And then we are talking about the cottage, is the bearing to the cottage, so this we can label as our C. So for us to finish up the diagram, we can just include the distances. Dogbe walked 5 kilometers to that cottage, so this is Dogbe, this is the cottage, so this is going to be 5 kilometers, okay? And then Manu walked 3 kilometers from his own cottage to the farm, so this is 3 kilometers. And you can see how I use a shorter distance from Manu as compared to Dogbe, and then using the relative positions of the bearings, I'm able to locate this as appropriate. So let's try and solve this and see what we can use to get the distance between the two farms. Manu's farm, M here, to Dogbe's farm, D here. Okay, so since that distance MD is opposite C, I can just call this C. Okay, so 5 kilometers will be small m, 3 kilometers will be small d. So let me just leave this at this. So we have this question and it's giving us a triangle already. I want to find this particular side, but we need to get any of the included angles so that we'll be able to solve this effectively. Now, looking at this diagram and what we have, we can say at point C we can get the angle at this point C, because looking at this particular point M, we know that from north to south is 180 degrees, is a straight line, and angle on the straight line is 180. So here that will be 180 minus this 110, so that will be 70 degrees. Okay, but we are not going to be stopping there, because we know that from this particular point M to point C, we can take this particular angle and bring it down to C, okay, and also take it up to say this angle here that we are looking at is also 70 degrees, because it is alternate to this 70 that we got by deducting 110 from the angle on the straight line 180, which is from north to south. Okay, and then interestingly, from D also we can see that here we can have something like this, at D, we can also have this straight line from the south and then incline it to this particular point C again, and then again we can take it up to see that this angle here, which will now be 200, that is from north to the inclination of C from D, minus 180, which is from the north to the south. So this angle is 200 minus 180, which is 20, and then this place is also going to give us 20. And as interesting as that gets, we are seeing that at this particular junction, at this point C, what we are having is inherently nothing but a right angle. So this is just 70 plus 20, and the addition of the two is going to give us nothing but a right angle, 90 degrees. So it is the breakdowns like this that will help us to holistically solve our question, and that renders the triangle MDC as a right angle. So what we're having is that triangle MDC is nothing but a right angle triangle, and if we can get this, then we know that we can postulate just the two theorems to help us solve right angle triangle. First, the trigonometry identity SOHCAHTOA. We can use SOHCAHTOA, and then we can use the Pythagoras theorem. Okay, the SOHCAHTOA plus Pythagoras that can help us to solve questions like this when we have a right angled triangle. So let's see how we can use that to solve this particular question. In the first case, we want to find distance between the two farms, and we have said that is C, distance from M to D. And by Pythagoras theorem, we can say that C square is going to be D square plus M square. And I've said D is this particular 3 kilometers, which is facing the vertex D, and M is this particular 5 kilometers, which is facing the vertex M. So that means I'm having C squared to be nothing plus, what is D square? That is 3 square plus M square, that is 5 square. So C square is 9 plus 25, which is equals to 34, and then I can say C is equal to the square root of 34, and then C, which is distance between the two farms that we are looking for, is going to be, we can bring our calculator to solve this. Okay, the square root of 34, this is 5.83095, let me say 5.83, so this is 5.83, but from the question we're asked to get this to two significant figures. Okay, so we can say approximately two significant figures, which means that we need only 2 digits. 5 is the very first one, we need to take that. Now to consider the second digit, we need to look at the third or the extra digit and see if we need to round it up or round it down. 3 is not up to 5, so we round it down to 0, and it will not take effect on 8 at all. So this is approximately 5.8 kilometers as the distance between the two farms, which is C. Okay, so that is the very first thing. In the second case, they were asked to find, to the nearest degree, the bearing of Manu's farm from Dogbe's. So this is Dogbe's farm. We need to get the bearing of Manu's farm from Dogbe. Already we have seen that from Dogbe to the cottage is 200. If we can get this particular angle, let me call that theta, we will see that the bearing of Manu's farm from Dogbe's farm will be 200 that we got initially plus that theta. Okay, because here we are starting from the north, we get to the bearing of the cottage from Dogbe's farm, and then add theta to it to get to the bearing of Manu's farm from Dogbe's farm. So that bearing that we're asked to find is going to be 200 plus theta. So that is what we are looking for. But for us to get theta, since this is a right angle triangle, if I'm to consider this part, okay, we are considering this angle theta, we have the opposite to it, which is 3. We also have the adjacent to it, which is 5. So what is relating the angle, the opposite, and the adjacent? That is tan. So we can say from here, tan theta that we are looking for is equal to opposite, which is 3, over the adjacent, which is 5. So that is equal to, such that theta will be arctan 3 over 5, and in that particular case our theta is going to be, what's arctan 3 over 5? That will be arctan 3 over 5 is 0.6. okay, so we have this as 30.9637 or 964. That's 30.964, such that the bearing that we are looking for is 200 plus 30.964, and if you had this, that would be 230.964. But again, we are told that we are to get this to the nearest degree. Even if you are not told to get that to the nearest degree, you need to always note that bearings are only given in 3 digits. Even if it is 2, maybe like it is supposed to be 70, you need to add 0 in front that say it is 070 degrees, okay? And you don't say 70 degrees, say 070 degrees, okay? So for this particular question, we are going to round this up, and we can see that 9 will round up to 1 and add to the initial number such that that bearing will be 231 degrees. So these are the 2 answers that we're supposed to get. Distance between the 2 farms is 5.8 kilometers, and the bearing of Manu's farm from Dogbe's farm is 231 degrees. And with that, we've been able to solve this question by first interpreting and getting our diagram correctly and making use of SOHCAHTOA and Pythagoras theorem, since it is giving us a right angle triangle. If it was giving us a scaling triangle, we could have used the sine and the cosine rule, but yeah, we are good since it's a right angle triangle, and our question is done and dusted. All right.